listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
When we're going, pick it up. Now, he's picking up the corner. I like the corner. I just thought they could do better there, right? They need help on this offensive line. Now, you brought 4 guys in. Fabulous. I don't know if any one of these 4 guys are going to stick. That's the whole issue right now. I just don't know if they're going to stick. And that's where I thought you got to take one position and say, or one player group and say offensive line, which we all know that is the Bears' weakness right now, right? And we got to say, how can we get better? So you got 4 guys you're going to throw into the mix. Okay. Are there some other places where we can find offensive linemen? Are there linemen up in Canada we can go get? We haven't looked up there. Are there other? Because what I'm saying to you is, I just don't think these guys, with all the reviews that I'm reading about, I don't see anybody jumping off the chart saying this is the guy right here. He's going to walk in. He's taking the starting position. And if that's the case, now you got 4 or 2 or 3 backups, new backups. We don't need backups. We need starters on the O-line.
I understand where you're going with this. However, the Bears have in past gone for the sure bet thing. I'll throw one name out there for you. Kevin White was supposed to be think about it though. He was supposed to be the safest receiver for the Bears. He'll be NFL day 1 starter, 1,000-yard receiver at minimum. Was he not?
No,
so
the bust.
Can't go off of that sometimes. What you can go off of, I hate to say it, but in this situation, I understand it. You have to go off of what somebody's potential might be, especially when you're talking about later round picks. And that's all the Bears had this year.
All right, so let's talk about some of these later round picks. Let's break down, since Jay, you mentioned it and we've touched on it, let's talk about their first round pick, which was in the second round, but it was their first pick that they made at pick 39, where they took cornerback Kyler Gordon out of Washington.
Everyone has to do their job. Do your job.
Now, the key with him is that he's a freakishly good athlete, someone who could have been a first rounder, but fell into the second round based on a lot of receivers that were taken, a lot of Georgia players that were taken in the first round. He's somebody that comes in and fills a need. He is a starting second corner for you. He will be the number 2 in the Bears mix. So Ryan Poles starts off with getting at least a starter for the defense. And I think at the beginning of this part of the draft, you saw the blueprint for what he was going to do, which was going to be top heavy on the secondary, because you've got your corner, then you come back and get a safety. So let's just, gentlemen, between the two of you, looking at what they got in Kyler Gordon, was there value there, or was, somebody else there that you thought would have been a better pick at that 39th pick?
Want me to go first?
Go first.
Sure.
Yeah, Rich.
Absolutely, you got good value. You had somebody that was projected to be picked up in the first round into the second round. What did the Bears lose on defense? They lost a front where they could rush. I believe they've lost Akeem Hicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're about to. They've lost Khalil Mack, 2 players that kept offenses honest. You really just couldn't air it out on them because you were too afraid of where they were coming from that line. You don't have them no more. So this NFL is all about airing it out. And that has been the weakness for the Bears for a couple of years. If you manage to get that ball out, the Bears got exposed in the passing game on defense. You have to address that side. You have to put somebody out there that is a legitimate threat to come up with an interception, break up a pass, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have Kyle Fuller. He was pretty good with that, but he also capitalized in a system like that. Now you have some legitimate players with, like you said, good upside, good speed, good size, possibly good durability, which is needed in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking at some of the the relative scores, which one of the measures or the metrics they use is the RAS system, which is the relative athletic score. And so, Jay, for the relative athletic score, out of a 10-point, it's a 0 to 10-point margin. Kyler Gordon got a 9.69, wherein his measurements, everything fell in. He falls into what it seems to be with Matt Eberflus, a prototype cover 2 corner, someone that they need to run the system. So, Jay, is there somebody else that you thought was better at that pick, or did the Bears get a starter that they needed to move forward?
No, I look down the line, see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Luke Godecki about 7 or 8 picks later at offensive tackle, and he's looked like he's going to play starting offensive guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was there for you. This is what I'm talking about. Now, is the kid a good pick? Yeah, I like him. He's big, he's strong, but he does not come in right away and and fix a glaring need. The most glaring need for the Chicago Bears is the offensive line. This kid's going to be good, yeah, because he's going to play a lot of snaps. He's going to play a lot of snaps because we're going to see a lot of 3-and-outs for this Bears offense. A lot of them. So now, this guy is not really a one-on-one single coverage cornerback. This guy is a more zone-based cornerback. You know, he's playing a technique I haven't really seen before when you actually turn your back on the receiver almost to the sideline and force him to the inside. Really hadn't seen that technique before. I mean, I sort of dug he was ready to run, but the whole issue is that I think the Bears will be better on defense because they did pick up guys out there that's going to help in the secondary. But, I mean, here's the thing. What's the long range plan? Because we're going to see a long range plan here. I just thought there was a better value pick to fix pieces of their offense. There was another kid. I think the Nebraska center was available. He plays big time. He plays big time football in a big time conference, and he was there available a few picks after that. I just thought the Bears had glaring needs that they need to take right up top and not wait for 100 picks later.
Jay, you remember old Space Jam movie?
Yeah,
you
that was a good movie. My kids used to watch it all the time.
You reminded me of when they're in the huddle, and Michael Jordan's like, "We on defense. We talking about defense, man." You bring up offensive players.
Hey, because we need to talk about offense. It's going to be look. This is a shamockery. Okay,
you know
this is a shamockery.
All right, so obviously Jay was not a fan of the first pick in the second round, which was pick 39. But then in the second round, the Bears also picked at number 48 safety Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. Now, Jaquan Brisker gets a 9.1 on the RAS scale. The breakdown of him is he's a physically gifted safety, someone who can come up and he can play at all 3 levels. He can play in the box, he can play up high, or he can play as run support. So anywhere you want to put him, he can fit in as a safety, something to give Eddie Jackson some more help back there because he's a safety, last line of defense. So, Jay, let's go back to you because I know Rich is going to come in and give us some base on what this pick was. But as far as a defender, we're getting a feel for what's going on. You're saying to yourself, wait a minute, Ryan is trying to solidify the other side of the ball. In fact, the head coach is, I get this. Just like Lovie Smith taking a cornerback with the 3rd pick in the draft. We didn't even talk about that foolishness.
That was fabulous.
Moving forward, Jay, do you see this as a problem with Brisker, with the pick of Brisker at pick 48?
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports